The impact of religion and Sufism on arts in Sudan, the influence on modern poetry. Abdallah Ashaykh Al-Bashir, 1928-1994. The Sheikh of Sudanese Poets, Part 1. Whenever the phrase Sheikh of Sudanese Poets is mentioned, minds immediately turn to the distinguished poet Abdallah Ashaykh Al-Bashir, a radiant figure who illuminated the Sudanese literary sky for 66 years. Throughout his life, he remained a shining example of creativity and giving, a destination for scholars and researchers of both classical and colloquial Arabic literature. So, dear audience, it is a very good welcoming to you in our series of documentaries that have been dedicated to trace the influence and the impact of religion and Sufism on Sudanese modern poets. And in our presence today, in our first encounter with him, the renowned and the prominent poet Abdallah Ashaykh Al-Bashir. His biography informs that Abdallah Ashaykh Al-Bashir was born in 1928 on the island of Darag in the northern part of Sudan. He is regarded as one of Sudan's most prominent and influential cultural figures, if not its foremost and most distinguished. Academic institutions knew him as a revered scholar and insightful thinker. The literary world welcomed him as an erudite, accomplished poet and refined writer, one who approached meaning with intelligence and innovation without serving connection to the deep roots of the Arabic poetic heritage. He was not merely a composer of verse, but a critic of refined taste, weaving words with precision and shaping beauty as a jeweler molds precious stones. He was among the early educators who laid the foundations of scholarly development in Sudan, earning a place of honor, a living and enduring mark on the nation's literary memory. Abdallah Ashaykh Al-Bashir grew up in a modest religious household built on simplicity, piety, and learning, an upbringing that instilled in him a love for the Quran, knowledge, and literature. About his religious and early education, his biography writers inform that, as was customary for the sons of his generation, he was sent to the Khalwa, to the Quranic school, to learn reading and writing through the noble Quran. The young boy, Abdullah, devoted himself to studying and memorizing the Quran under the guidance of his father and in his father's Khalwa, Quranic school. His ambition to the love of reading and the memorization of the Holy Quran, however, did not end there. He moved on to other Khalwas, mastering the memorization and proper recitation of the Quran according to the Warsh narration, a tradition that remains present in many Quranic schools in northern Sudan to this day. This early immersion enriched his linguistic capacity and sharpened his mind. He later joined the Intermediate Scientific Institute in Khartoum, then the Scientific Institute of Omdurman, which he paved his path to Al-Azhar University in Cairo. In Al-Azhar, he excelled and absorbed the sciences of Arabic, Arabic language, grammar, morphology, rhetoric, and he obtained Al-Amiriya degree from the Faculty of Arabic Language at Al-Azhar, followed by a diploma in education from Ain Shams University, before returning to Sudan in 1953 to begin a luminous educational journey. However, as you follow the audience, our poet Abdallah Ashaykh Al-Bashir started his earliest education at his father Khalwa, and then he proceeded the journey of gaining the educational knowledge following the memorization of the Holy Quran. Following that, he moved to Khartoum and joined Khartoum Intermediate Institute, and then he joined Omdurman Scientific Institution, and from Omdurman Scientific Institution he traveled to Cairo, more specifically to Al-Azhar Sharif, where he spent time acquiring different disciplines of the Arabic language. Moreover, he went on and joined Ain Shams University, and from that respected and distinguished university, he had obtained diploma in education. And this process and journey of seeking knowledge led him back into country in 1953 to start the luminous educational journey. His professional life. In his professional life, Sheikh Abdallah Al-Bashir distinguished himself through his skill and commitment, working notably as a teacher, and he started his professional life at Al-Ahfaz Secondary School, and in this regard he taught Arabic at this respected secondary school for 10 years. Then he moved to the Ministry of Education as head of the Arabic language department. Through his passion for classroom teaching eventually led him back to his beloved profession at Wadi Sayyidina School in Omdurman. Later, he continued his work as a researcher at the National Council for Arts and Letters until his retirement in 1990. He served as president of Sudanese Literary Association and Sudanese Writers Union from 1977 to 1982, and was an active member of the Arabic and Islamic Education Teachers Association, as well as the Sudanese Radio Text Committee. His poetry was published in several Arab journals and newspapers, and he represented Sudan in esteemed cultural events, including the Islamic Education Conference in Mecca in 1982 and the Modernity Festival in Cairo 1983-1984. His major works. Our poet Abdallah Ashaykh Al-Bashir is among those who enrich both the Arabic and Sudanese literary heritage with a wealth of poetic works. And among his notable works are the following: studies on the poetry of Tijani Yusuf Bashir, more authoring work, education in Khalwa and mosque, and other authoring and Arabic language teachers in society. These authoring's, along with two poetic collections that serve as enduring proof of his genius. Abdallah Bilazat, heroes without profession. Moreover, his celebrated work, Malhamat al-Masid, the epic of the Sufi Masid, more specifically speak about Khalwa, that is a Quranic school. Moreover, he spoke about the praise singers and their role in the society. More specifically in this regard, speaking about the contribution of praise singing and the praise singers that they have played in Sudanese society. This branch is, by the way, is part of his noted and celebrated work, Malhamat al-Masid, which at the very same time, his biography writer described this work as volumes in which knowledge meets poetry and spirit meets expression. So following his legacy in this context, I'm referring here to his works, his authoring's, his poetic collections, and in this concern, Abdallah Ashaykh Al-Bashir left behind a rich legacy of literary articles. Moreover, in this concern, which had been published from 1959 until his passing away in 1994. And for this, forever our poet Abdallah Ashaykh Al-Bashir be saving his name as a timeless symbol in Sudanese literature and culture. The audience, I would like to remind you that I'm presenting Abdallah Ashaykh Al-Bashir in our first encounter with him as part of our series of documentaries that have been dedicated to introduce the impact of religion and Sufism on the writing of modern Sudanese poets. So in our first encounter with him, just I'm presenting his biography, and following my introduction to him, his family, his education, and his work, just here I would like sharing one of his noted and celebrated poetic work, and that is his ode, البحث عن بيت الشعر. So البحث عن بيت الشعر, as I told, is one of his masterpieces. And by the way, this ode and poem has its own story of composition. I would like sharing you the story and the history of the pairs of this masterpiece. So his poem البحث عن بيت من الشعر, البحث عن بيت الشعر, is among his most celebrated works. His biography writers stated that many poets attempted to emulate it, yet none reached its mastery. It is enough to say that the poem gained wide fame during a cultural event held in the heart of Cairo, attended by the Egyptian Prime Minister at that time, Dr. Fuad Muhyiddin, during the era of former President Muhammad Anwar Sadat. At that event, the program host introduced our poet in a dim, inadequate manner, unlike the elaborate, admiring introductions he had given to those poets before him. He merely said, "And now, Abdallah Ashaykh Al-Bashir from Sudan," without even describing him as a poet. But our poet, the celebrated Sheikh Abdallah Al-Bashir, delivered a lesson never to be forgotten, beginning his poem with على حد السنة أمهيت سيفي فرفت شفرتاه كما ابتغيت. One of the Ashayret, those Sheikh of the Ashar, could not restrain himself and cried out. So he is there in the very same place of the event. So he couldn't restrain himself and cried out, "Yeah, listen, he is saying that he sharpened his sword on the edge of light. Repeat it, Sheikh." The whole did not fall silent from applause and admiration, while our Sheikh, our poet, described his lively horse, its blackness tinged with the flush of red on that wondrous journey. فها أنا ذا يعادي بي صراعا بشط الغيب من ريح كميت. And the words of admiration continued until the poet finished his poem. Then the Prime Minister of Egypt rose, breaking every rule or protocol and security in place, and walked to the stage to address the poet through the microphone. "You have proven to us that you are the only one among us who truly sees." As a matter of fact, and as his biography informed, that Abdallah Ashaykh Al-Bashir, throughout his life and before passing away, he lost his eyesight and turned blind. And because of this, the Prime Minister reacted in that way. "You have proven to us that you are the only one among us who truly sees." This part of the episode, dear audience, I invite you to listen to the Oud Al-Bahs عن بيت الشعر by the voice of our late poet and writer فراج الطيب.
على حد السنة أمهيت سيفي. سن سيفه وين؟ شوفوا الخيال العجيب ده. سن سيفه في شنو؟ في النور. على حد السنة أمهيت سيفي، يعني جعلت لسيفي ماء ورونقا وبريقا. على حد السنة أمهيت سيفي فرفت شفرتاه كما ابتغيت. لمع حداه كما ايه؟ كما أريد. فها أنا ذا يعادي بي مراحا بشط الغيب من ريح كميت. ركب فرس الخيال، والفرس الخيال ده مشى بيه وين؟ عاد بيه وين؟ في شط الغيب. فها أنا ذا يعادي بي مراحا بشط الغيب من ريح كميت. رصائعه، الحلة بتاعته بتاعت السرج بتاعه، رصائعه مصابيح سهارة لهن خواطر الحذاق زيت. فمر بعبقر، عبقر دي طبعا قالوا اللي بيكون فيها وادي عبقر ده وادي الجن اللي بيستوحوا منه شنو؟ الاشياء البديعه دائما. فمر بعبقر، يعني الفرس المهري بتاع الخيال ده، فمر بعبقر ليلا فهرت كلاب الجن. يعني شنو؟ الهرير صوت بتاع استنكار من الكلاب لما تقابل زول بيكون غريب عليها. فمر بعبقر ليلا فهرت كلاب الجن عرفيط وشيت. اداه اسماء من راسه ساكت، واحد سماه عرفيط وواحد سماه شنو؟ شيت. خيال شعراء. فمر بعبقر ليلا فهرت كلاب الجن عرفيط وشيت. هين الفرس بتاعه طار لما لما نبحنوا الكلاب دي. فطار الفرس، فطار فصاهل الشعر، الشعر دي نجم فوق، فطار فصاهل الشعر فماجت عرائش من بشائرها جنيت، ومج لجامه ألق الثريا. مج لجامه شنو؟ الرؤال بتاع الفرس بتاعه بتاع الخيال ده بدل ما يكون رؤال لعاب بقى ألق بتاع شنو؟ ألق نور زي نور الثريا. فمج لجامه ألق الثريا جذا، جذا يعني قطع من اللهب، جذا مما تغوص له الكويت، حجارة كريمة. وصار السيف ينبوعا، وفجأة قال سيفي كنت شايله تحول بقى ينبوع شنو؟ ينبوع مويه ماء. وصار السيف ينبوعا، إذا حيقاتل بشنو؟ فما لي سوى قوس الغمام إذا ادريته. اتخذت قوس الغمام، قوس قزح، سويته شنو؟ قوس سلاح. سيفي بقى شنو؟ بقى مويه. وصار السيف ينبوعا فما لي سوى قوس الغمام إذا ادريت، وقد أهدت لي الأبراج فوق تحت النجوم، وقد أهدت لي الأبراج شتى عراضات هدايا، ولكني انتحيت. فلو كانت جناحا من عقيق له لمع البوارق لارتقيت، وحرت فدلني نجم لموح على مسرى قوافله سريت، وضاعت لي نوافذ باهرات فجزت من النوافذ وامحيت. وضاعت لي نوافذ باهرات فجزت من النوافذ وامحيت، فأوفي بي على زبد موشى على فقاعه طربا مشيت. وصرح منه عن نهر زخور فلما راقني سربا مضيت، كأن خوات أم الرعد فوقي هماهم ما استمعت وما ارتأيت. رأيت اللجة الزرقاء نارا من الياقوت فيما قد رأيت، ففاضت فاستجاشت ثم سالت جداول ما يحتني، فارتويت ولم أع ما أفيض علي منها، فلما لم أع الفحوى وعيت. ولم أع ما أفيض علي منها فلما لم أع الفحوى وعيت، وحسبي أنني جمعت منها سليل شوارد مما ابتغيت، ونضدت الخفايا في سلالي، ونشرت الشراع الذي طويت، وعدت وليتني ما عدت دهري، وهل تأسوا جراح الحظ ليت. ولما زاحم الآفاق مني جناح جبرائيل واهتديت، سمعت سهام آفلون حولي مزفزفة وآفلون ميت. آفلون ده عند الإغريق إله الشمس والنور والفنون. ومرت سمعت سهام آفلون حولي مزفزفة وآفلون ميت، ومرت من ورائي جيلبوت على أكتافها فذ صليت، هبطت وأجنحي أدغال نخل إذا غنت عصافرها انتشيت، وحامت صادحات النيل حولي تقاضي رحلتي وأيا وأيت، وقالت لي نراك خضيل حقل ترف ندى، فقلت لها اكتويت، فطارت ثم حطت ثم قالت ترى ما جد، قلت لها اقتنيت، وشيت لها وأعماقي صحاح بأسقام الصبابة إذ وشيت، فلما أملت نقرت ربابي فهازجني من الأوزان بيت.
And because of his distinguished professional career, our poet Sheikh Al-Bashir was awarded the Order of Literature from the University of Khartoum and the Golden Medal for Science, Literature and Arts from the state. In the final years of his life, he endured complications from typettes until the illness overwhelmed him, and he passed away in 1994. His soul departed, yet his presence remained living in his verses, carried by readers, illuminating generations to come. The audience, this is just glimpses of the rich life of our poet, the celebrated Abdallah Ashaykh Al-Bashir. And then the audience, at the end of this first part of our introducing the celebrated poet Abdallah Ashaykh Al-Bashir, just I would like to inform that the sources that I depend on to present his biography is an article that has been written by Abdussalam Kamil Abdussalam. The article entitled Abdallah Ashaykh Al-Bashir والبحث عن بيت الشعر، المجلة العربية، مقال published on 29 of September 2019. Another source, Umar Fadlallah, his article Abdallah Ashaykh Al-Bashir سيرة ذاتية ومقتارات من قصائده, available at the website of Dr. Umar Fadlallah. Moreover, Abdulaziz Hassan Al-Basir, his article الشاعر الشاعر عبدالله الشيخ البشير، صحيفة الرايد on 22 of August 2010. And then my authoring book, The Impact of Sufism on Arts in Sudan, by Abdallah Saleh, مصورات, for publication and distribution 2024, Cairo.